I'm gonna put you a little bit on the spot.
Yeah.
And this is also in teaching people at home how to ask someone for a favor, right? So the key, in my opinion, asking for a favor is give that person the space to say no. Don't ever say, hey, can you do this for me? Say, would you be comfortable? Are you okay with this? Something that you're in a position to do. Because I've had people make demands, get me on Rogan. It's like, it's a big ask, like worded a better way. So when I was growing up, there was someone I was modeling myself after. And that question people ask if you have dinner with anybody on earth, would be, there is this person, and this person is a big fan of yours. And I would love it if you feel comfortable telling them, hey, break bread with Michael Malice. It'll be worth your time. And that person is Camille Paglia.
Oh.
She was my role model when I started out trying to do this kind of stuff.
Well, I like your conceptualization. It goes along with your stance as an anarchist, right? Well, look, this is one of the principles that we're using to guide the development of this Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. Here's the rule. Policies that require fear and force are bad policies.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Right. Now, it's tricky when it comes to the regulation of criminal behavior, right? Because the really psychopathic antisocial people, they don't play a social game. And so asking them
or people can't think ahead, even those who just can't think past the next moment.
Well, they don't.
Right, yeah.
Right? I mean,
not
psychopaths are notorious for not learning from
But
experience.
non-psychopaths as well, a certain intelligence level, they're not thinking in terms of causality.
Yeah. Well, I suspect that this is a tough one. I was going to ask you when you were talking about, your decision to become a writer. I mean, you're blessed with an extremely high level of verbal intelligence,
sure.
right? And that's an a priori gift, right?
Yes, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
But there's quite a correlation between intelligence and socioeconomic status. It's pretty high. It's the best predictor, right? And the second best predictor is conscientiousness.
Is that right?
But yeah,
okay.
It's much weaker. It's about 1/5 as powerful.
Okay.
Or on the entrepreneurial space, it's openness, right? But there doesn't
really? That's interesting because so many entrepreneurs I know are so kind of basic in their thinking.
Well, the managerial types tend to be intelligent and conscientious. The entrepreneurial types tend to be intelligent and open.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So there's a pathway to, it's likely that a serial entrepreneur is going to be high in openness.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So, okay. Because they're right. Yeah.
Yeah. They're switching games. Like an open person is switching games all the time.
Right.
Right. Whereas a more managerial person picks a game.
Yeah.
And gets really good at it. And that works great if the game is working.
Yeah.
But it works terribly when the game stops working, right? Which is why you need some entrepreneurs in your organization. So I was wondering about this adventure issue. Intelligence predicts success. And so then you might say, well, what's your probability for success as an adventurer if you're not as intelligent? But my suspicions are that strength of character will do the trick. Because one of the pathways to success in a functional society is that people can really rely on you.
That's so, I'm sorry, this is kind of insane that's insane, but it's fortuitous to say this because I've given talks for young people about what I wish I'd known at their age. And I tell them, don't strive for excellence because you're not gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
Strive for competence.
Yeah.
If I can rely on you as someone who's working for me, and you say, I'll have this paper on Tuesday, and it's ready on Tuesday, you're at the 90th percentile.
Right away.
In fact, I'd rather have you say, I'll have it for you on Wednesday and give it Wednesday than say Monday and give it to me on Tuesday. Because I know I could schedule it around the Wednesday.
100%. Well, the other thing too, see, if you're reliable, this is why honesty is the best policy. If you're reliable, and you already pointed this out, you're low entropy.
Right, you're right, yeah, right.
Right, it's like, I can reduce you to 1 pixel. You will do what you said. Box, shelf.
I also appreciate the irony of the anarchists advising people to minimize the chaos that they bring, but that's the best approach.
Well, but when we talked about anarchy before, you stressed the voluntary element of it, right? And that strikes me as, well, that's why we made that a principle for our policy discussion, so to speak, at ARC. It's like, if you can't offer people an invitational vision, so they say, yeah, I would do that. I would be enthusiastic about doing that. Then there's something wrong with your policy.
Right.
So I think a cardinal way of identifying tyrants is they use fear and compulsion.
Yes.
Right.
Definitionally.
Yeah. And so this is a good also for you people to know who are watching and listening is if you're listening to a politician and they're trying to motivate you fundamentally with fear, or they're proposing the use of compulsion, say in the case of an emergency. It's like, yeah, probably you're a tyrant.
Yeah.
Probably you're a tyrant. Even in an emergency, right? It's like,
yeah.
No, your duty is to...
Or the invocation of emergency.
Well, that's exactly the problem, is that, the emergency is pretty convenient for you if you happen to be a tyrant. And part of the reason the idea of the apocalypse is archetypal is because there's always an emergency.
Of course.
Right? It's like, you're going to die. Everything's going to come to an end. So you can conjure up an emergency at a moment's notice. So I don't know whether I should look at the blue eye or the red eye. So you taught for Peterson Academy.
Yes. Wait. So will you message Camille Paglia for me? It's okay if you say no.
As a spouse, a parent, or a leader, people count on you. But if you're constantly tired, unfocused, and just not feeling like yourself, how can you show up the way they need you to? That's where Merrick Health comes in. Merrick is a premier health optimization platform that uses comprehensive lab work, not guesswork, to uncover what's really going on in your body. Hormones, thyroid inflammation, nutrient levels, the markers that matter. Their expert clinical teams build a personalized, research-backed plan just for you, whether it's lifestyle changes, supplements, or prescription treatments. When you know what's going on inside, you can lead with clarity, show up with energy, and stay sharp for your family, your team, and yourself. Head over to merrickhealth.com and use code Peterson for 10% off to join their guided optimization program with your personal medical team. That's merrickhealth.com, code Peterson. Stop guessing, start leading, and start with Merrick Health.
Well, tell me exactly what you want.
I just want to have dinner with her. My treat. I will go to Philly. I will. And I've Klaus. She will know it. I'll tell you what this. I have Candy Darling's journal. You won't know what that is. She will. I have Klaus Nomi's tuxedo. You won't know what that is. She will.
I know who Klaus Nomi is.
I have a tuxedo.
You do you?
Yes.
He's a singer.
Yes.
Yes, and with a soprano voice.
Yes.
And he sang. Let's see.
I can't believe you know Klaus Nomi. He didn't really have any hits.
Yeah, but. Yeah, I know who Klaus Nomi is. He's got a stunning and striking voice.
Yes.
Yeah. So why do you have one of his tuxedos?
Well, he has one tuxedo that was his stage outfit. And it's this kind of iconic item.
Okay, so what you should do is you should write me a paragraph about what you have to offer and about what you want and about, I would also recommend guarantees. Like, I went and talked to Paglia and it was hard.
Really?
She was very apprehensive because she's been abused and used by all sorts of people and journalists. And so she's very skeptical. She was extremely hospitable once we got there, my wife and I, and she knew that we were up to no tricks. She just flipped and she was extremely inviting, but she's got a wall and it's a protective wall. So I think one of the things you'd have to do in the paragraph is reassure her. You need invitation plus reassurance.
Done. Great.
And then yes, I could contact her.
It would make my life.
My dream for Camille Paglia is to have her talk to Ben Shapiro, because they're both machine guns, and so I'd love to see that just as a spectacle.
And speed up the tape.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah, I could imagine even better maybe would be Russell Brand, Ben Shapiro, and Paglia. Those are the three most verbally fluent people I've ever seen in my life.
Wow, that would be quite a troika.
Yeah, it would be. It'd really be something. So why do you have Klaus Nomi's tuxedo? And who is Candy Darling? And why do you want to talk to Paglia?
Because Paglia was who I wanted to be when I grew up in many ways. So
why?
Because what I found fascinating about her is she is the kind of person where even if she's dead wrong, I want to hear her say more. And that is very, very rare. It is very rare when she was, 10 years ago, she was talking about how great Kamala Harris is. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Camille, Ms. Paglia, come on, are you serious? And it did not diminish my respect for her in the slightest. So when someone has takes, and people say this about me, they're like, I don't agree with half the things you say, but I love how your brain works. That to me is like the epitome of a public intellectual, or where even if they're dead wrong, or I know enough about a subject where I'm like, this person's way off, I don't care. Well, keep talking.
That's probably part of that quest. So one of the things I've learned to do in lectures is before I go on stage, I have a question. It's a question that matters to me, which is also something you should do when you write, by the way. It matters to me, and I don't know enough about it yet, and I'd like to get farther in my thinking. And so then what I'm trying to do on stage is get farther in my thinking and maybe to come to a conclusion. If I can do that, then that's like the punchline, right? That's very satisfying. But in some ways it doesn't matter because the journey is what matters. And I think what you're pointing out is that there are certain kinds of intellectuals whose thought quality is so rich that the journey is worth the...
And so entertaining to listen to.
Right.
Like the way she talks, I can do it, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
It's just so like unique and idiosyncratic. And you watch clips of her from the 90s, she was just, I was like, okay, this, and what I love about her is you can't put her in a box.
Yep.
She's so all over the map politically. She's a hardcore atheist, but she goes on and on about the Catholic Church and the beauty it brings and the venerance that people have for it and how valuable it is. And her, she's very big on Warhol, but at the same time, her veneration of the classics and how her insane contempt for how that's being thrown into the garbage can. And we're losing thousands of years of creative history simply because it's predominantly white men is to her just complete madness. And she's correct. So there's so much I would love to talk to her about and just pick her brain and just to thank her. Because I think there's certain people when you find them at the right age, like Catcher in the Rye is this, the Fountainhead for certain people, it really kind of codifies you later in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about the function of religious texts in exactly that manner. I think partly, so it looks very much like a description of the structure through which we see the world is a story.
Yes.
Right? So there's an infinite number of facts, but they have to be sequenced and prioritized. And the way someone sequences and prioritizes is their story.
Yes.
Okay, so
yeah, people don't want truth, people want narratives.
That's because narratives structure our truth.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that what core stories do